Hey, it's me. There's a moment on the path of awakening that feels like standing at a crossroads. I felt it. Many of my friends, and perhaps you too, have found themselves here. You begin to see, maybe for the first time, just how much fear has shaped your inner world. Not just fear of one thing, fear of nearly everything. Fear of life, of death, of pleasure, of surrender, of feelings, even fear of simply being. These fears don't always announce themselves loudly. Often they hide in the background, guiding our choices and shaping our lives without us realizing it. And then, almost suddenly, the awareness dawns. I am afraid of the very things I long for. You start to notice how this fear has been pulling you back from fully living. You sense a quiet grief for all the moments missed, for the creative life that could have been. And yet, and here's the paradox, the deeper you walk this path, the more you see these fears are not the enemy. They're teachers. They point to the places where your ego has taken over and your real self has been forgotten. At the heart of all these fears is a single misunderstanding, one that so many of us carry, the belief that the ego is who we are, that the small, thinking, controlling self is the only self we have. And that's not the truth. Ego is part of us, yes. It helps us make decisions and organize our thoughts, move through the world. But it's not the source of wisdom, depth, or creativity. That comes from somewhere deeper, from the real self, the eternal, creative, intuitive center within you. The part of you that doesn't need to prove itself, doesn't scramble for control, and doesn't fear what's next. It just is. And here's where things get tricky. If you've only ever known yourself as your ego, if that's your only sense of I, then of course you're going to fear death. Because the ego does die. The real self does not. It is beyond birth and death. It is timeless. Once you experience even a glimpse of this truth, the fear of death begins to dissolve. Not because of belief, because of direct knowing. That same fear extends to life too, because life is big, it's messy, it's full of uncertainty, contradictions, and challenges, and the ego is simply not equipped to handle that. It lives in black and white, and right versus wrong. But real life, your life, exists in the full spectrum, in all its nuance. That's why the ego gets overwhelmed. It wants control, not connection. It wants predictability, not presence. And what about pleasure, fulfillment, happiness? Strange as it may sound, most of us fear these too. We say we want them, we chase after them, but something deep inside resists. Why? Because true pleasure requires surrender. It requires openness. It requires letting go of the ego's grip. And if you think the ego is your whole self, then letting go feels like dying. But when the real self is online, something changes. Letting go doesn't feel like death. It feels like coming alive. You start to notice those rare moments in life that felt effortless and inspired, times when joy flowed through you without strain. Those were moments of real self. And they weren't random. They're clues, proof that there's something inside you far more trustworthy than your ego. And still, we hesitate. Letting go feels risky. We're so used to trying harder, pushing more, controlling everything. When real transformation doesn't come from force, it comes from release. So what do? We begin by listening, like really listening, to the subtle ways we resist pleasure, happiness, and surrender. We watch the ego when it tightens. We notice how it creates anxiety by trying to do what only the real self can do. And we practice, gently, patiently, loosening our grip. This isn't about rejecting the ego or making it wrong. That's just another extreme. The ego has its place, but its highest purpose is to help us turn inward, to choose truth, to seek connection with the deeper self. Once it's made that choice, its job is to step aside, to become the hands that reach, then open to receive. And this opens the door to something extraordinary. The life force within you, the very energy of your real self, begins to move, not in a way that can be forced, in a way that feels organic and alive. It comes as insight, as creativity, as deep feeling. It's wisdom, law, and consciousness all at once. And the more you trust this energy, the more it fills your life with joy, beauty, and aliveness. To block this force, to live only from the ego, is to slowly die while still alive. But to welcome it is to live deathlessly. And yes, it takes courage. And yes, it takes effort. But the effort isn't about striving. It's about being willing to see where you're still afraid, where you still hold on, where you still cheat yourself out of joy by clinging to the ego's illusion of safety. Your task is not to become perfect. It's to become honest. Where are you still hiding from your real self? Where are you still choosing smallness? These questions aren't punishments, they're invitations. They lead you home. Because this real self within you, it doesn't ask you to perform. It asks you to remember, to reconnect, to trust that who you are at your core is already whole, already enough, already free. So I hope you take this message as a gentle reminder. Listen to it again. Reflect on it slowly. Let it meet you where you are. And most of all, let it awaken the part of you that already knows. There is more to you than fear, more than ego, more than the limits that you've known. You are life itself. You are the creative process. You are the joy you've been looking for. And you're ready. Love you. Connect soon.